If you've ever dipped your toes into day trading, you know how incredibly noisy it can get. You've got gurus, a million different strategies, endless indicators. It's just a lot. But what if the real secret to making it isn't about finding that one perfect strategy? Let's cut through all that noise and look at a completely different way of thinking about what truly matters.
For most new traders, all that noise kind of starts with this one huge question, a debate that basically splits the entire trading world right down the middle. Do you trade the news, the big economic reports and all that, or do you just ignore everything and focus only on the charts?
So in one corner, you have the people who swear that news is the only thing that really moves the market. These are the traders glued to their screens, waiting for that inflation number to drop, because they believe that's where the edge is. And then in the other corner, you have the traders who say all of that is just smoke and mirrors. They'll tell you it's designed to trick you and that everything you could possibly need to know is already baked right into the price chart.
And this, right here, is the trap. It's where so many people get stuck on this endless hamster wheel, jumping from one strategy to the next, convinced that the next one will be the holy grail that finally makes them profitable. But what if this entire debate is missing the point entirely?
Well, according to professional trader Rajan Dahl, who's been doing this for nearly 20 years, focusing only on your strategy is a massive mistake. He suggests a totally different framework for success, one where your trading system, well, it's just one piece of a much, much bigger pie.
He calls it the trader's Trinity. And as you can see, it's pretty simple. Your strategy, your risk management, and your psychology are all equal partners here. Now, this is so important. What this means is that even if you have the world's greatest, most profitable strategy, you're still working with only 1/3 of what you actually need to win in the long run. You're missing 2/3 of the puzzle.
So let's talk about that second piece, risk management. And look, this is about so much more than just putting a stop loss on your chart. This is about truly understanding the cold, hard math of trading and being ready for what is absolutely going to happen. So let me ask you a quick question. Let's say you have a trading strategy that wins about 50% of the time. Over your next 100 trades, what would you say are the odds of hitting 7 losing trades in a row? Most people would probably guess it's pretty unlikely, right? Well, the truth is actually kind of shocking. With a 50% win rate, which is literally a coin flip, you have a 50-50 shot of hitting a losing streak of 7 or more. And if your win rate drops to just 40%, which is still considered pretty good by many, that probability just skyrockets to 78%. You see, losing streaks aren't just a possibility. They are a statistical certainty.
And Rajan Dahl brings this right back down to earth from his own experience. He says that every single trader has to be ready, both mentally and in their account, to lose somewhere between 7 and 14 times in a row. It's not a question of if it will happen, but when.
And just think about the psychological damage of that for a second. If you're following that common advice of risking 1% of your account on each trade, a 14-loss streak means you're suddenly down 14%. For most people, a hit that big is an absolute gut punch, and it's incredibly difficult to come back from that mentally.
Okay, so what do the pros do? They approach it from the complete opposite direction. First, they define their absolute breaking point. Let's say they decide they can never, ever lose more than 20% of their total account. Then, they plan for a truly insane worst-case scenario, like, say, 30 losses in a row. They just divide their max pain by that crazy scenario, and that gives them a much smaller, much more survivable risk per trade. It protects their money, sure, but more importantly, it protects their mind.
And that brings us to the final and honestly the most critical piece of the Trinity, your psychology. Because at the end of the day, the biggest wild card in your trading isn't the market, it's you.
Rajan Dahl makes this brilliant distinction. He says that technical analysis teaches you how to be an analyst, but trading teaches you to be a trader. And those are two totally different jobs. See, an analyst is obsessed with being right, with figuring out why the market just did what it did. But a trader's job is way simpler. Manage risk and follow your plan with discipline. That's it. To really get why this is so critical, we have to talk about this idea called economic noise. Just think about it for a second. Some CEO makes a weird comment on Twitter, a misleading headline flashes across the screen, a rumor spreads like wildfire on a forum. All of that is noise. It causes these random spikes and dips in price that have absolutely nothing to do with what an asset is actually worth.
The guy who came up with this whole theory, Fisher Black, he put it perfectly. He said, we are basically swimming in an ocean of noise, and it's almost impossible to tell the difference between that noise and real, useful information. That's the chaotic world every trader steps into every single day.
So if the market is just filled with all this external noise, what separates the people who make it from those who don't? It's your internal filter. It's your psychology.
Your ability to stay calm, to stay disciplined, and to stick to your plan. That's what allows you to tune out all that distracting junk and act only on what your system tells you is real information.
But let's be honest, we all have our own internal noise too. And Dahl warns that if you have any of these psychological flaws, ego, fear, impatience, greed, the market is like a heat-seeking missile. It will find them and it will exploit them until you either fix those flaws or you blow up your account.
And this quote just gets right to the absolute core of it all. The most important analysis you'll ever do as a trader isn't on a price chart. It's on yourself. It's about figuring out your own emotional triggers so you can just stop making those silly mistakes.
So, the big takeaway is this. Success in trading isn't really about having an edge over the market. It's about having an edge over yourself. So, as you go forward on your own journey, you have to ask yourself this question. Where should you spend your energy next? Is it on analyzing just one more chart, or is it on analyzing the person who's staring back at the screen?